outline. Welcome, hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the
Happy
Yaoi
Easter.
Shelf. Happy Easter. If you're watching this today when it should go up, knock on. I have no wooden surfaces. Oh, the table is wood.
You could knock on knock.
I was gonna do that, but that implies that I'm dumb and I can't say that. And then I was gonna go for my junk, but there's technically nothing wooden there yet. Which brings us to a very fun topic of gender.
Wow, that was a very smooth transition.
I am a smooth transition, but I have not experienced a
Ooh.
smooth transition when it comes to gender. Actually, no, that's not true. My gender stuff was rather smooth. We're jumping the gun. How are you on this glorious day, Carola?
I'm good, she said, questioning. I just
She's.
walked a mile, okay? So I'm feeling
I'm
a
really.
little.
You know what? I got a membership to a very, very expensive gym as a gift. Because, that's how your family tells you that you're fat, is when they make you go to the gym with guilt.
Nice.
But they have a sauna and everything, and I
Oh.
have been so proud of me doing the bare minimum. And it's look at me going walkies.
Yeah.
Look at
No,
me.
we went walking. This is, of course, me speaking in European terms, but it is
Hmm.
today we had 8 degrees Celsius and sunshine. So everyone's out sunbathing on their porch with no shirts on.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have to stop you really, really quickly. So I have a pretty good idea of Celsius, but for the listeners at home, 8 degrees Celsius is 46 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a few degrees above freezing.
This is summer temperatures in Norway.
Would you like to know the current temperature in Texas?
Yeah.
Would you like to know for where I am on what is actually a cold day? It is 23.
Celsius?
Yes.
That is like a good day in July.
It will get up to 33 by the end of the day.
Oh my god.
This
Yeah,
is
so
cold this is a gloomy day for us at 23, but it'll shoot up 10 more degrees by 4 p.m.
if this was in Norway, we would be at the beach right now. Like that's beach weather.
I don't understand how you all survive.
I don't know. But anyway, so we went walking and it was the first long walk of the season because it's actually temporarily spring outside. We reached second full spring.
Hmm.
So everyone's in a good mood. And I'm feeling a little weird because I haven't had this much fresh air in a while. Like what is happening? Otherwise, fine. Yes.
I am so impressed by you, and I'm doing my best to go walkies more often.
Yay, walkies. No,
Yeah,
I actually hate it, but
I mean, when your family buys you a very, very expensive gym membership, sometimes all you can do is go walkies. Um, so, it's spring, in theory.
in theory, kind
in
of.
theory, in
Yeah.
theory, it's spring. And, we've been dancing around this topic for a little while, and that is something that, honestly, Carola and I have wanted to discuss for a while. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we landed the sponsorship of
Yes.
sponsorships. I wasn't trying to bury the lead, folks. I wasn't trying to mislead you, but we landed the sponsorship of sponsorships.
I'm so
Corolla,
happy.
would you like to tell the fine audience a little bit more about the amazing deal we've been able to broker?
Am I allowed to say what? Yeah, I can tell. I can say all of it. We are allowed to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's been hard. Okay.
This has been literally fucking weeks in the making.
Yeah.
And
We
we
yeah.
have just been sitting on our hands, we can't talk about it yet. We can't talk about it yet. We
And
can
now
talk
we
about
can
it.
talk about it.
Go
This
hard.
episode is sponsored by the amazing people at DL
Mm-hmm.
site Garumani, and
Mm-hmm.
we love them. If you don't know what
Yes.
DL site is, it's DL site Garumani is the BL part of this huge site that has, and I am not kidding, It's like hundreds of thousands of works, original works,
Mm-hmm.
amateur works,
Mm-hmm.
and officially licensed works in
Mm-hmm.
various genres, including otome and BL. And
Mm-hmm.
it's everything from doujins and manga translated into English, Chinese, drama, audio
Mm-hmm.
dramas, ASMR, and also even some games, I think, and some video. And they are amazing. And we are so happy to not only have this episode be sponsored by
Mm-hmm.
DL site Garumani, but we are also going to be reviewing a product next
We
week.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the
we're super
live.
excited. Carola and I were both two elder Fujin, and one thing that I think we always say is, if there was legal access to this stuff, that we would have done it. And one thing that has been so cool to continue to see is legal
Oh
access
yeah.
to this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why it was so cool to make this collab happen is that, especially now as we're older with disposable income, but still an insatiable horniness to hear and see fictional gay men do it and do it hard.
Yes.
Uh,
We're
it's
just
amazing.
I'm
Yes.
just so happy because for DL site to be like, "Oh, we'll give you something that you can review for free." And I'm
Yes.
like, yes, thank you, because you guys already own so much of my money. Like I am
Like
so
this is the
like
least y'all could do.
I will that came out very entitled. No, but
No, I
I will
love it.
take it.
I love it.
I will take it because I probably would have bought this product anyway.
You know what?
And
That's really true. That is really
yeah.
true.
I love DL sites so much. I've been such a
I
whore for them.
also love DL site, but this is the Yaoi Shelf, and we believe in being strong service tops here, and that is in this, and that means basically we also will be giving to you. We have been given a special URL
Yes.
that we will link in ye old show notes, and I'm so excited for this. I have always been like, you've made it big when you get your own like vanity URL.
Yeah.
Like when you get a URL for like a coupon code from a company that you trust and support, that's when you've made it big. You can use code the Yaoi Shelf
Yes.
to receive 30% off your first purchase upon registry. This is how I know we've made it. This is how I know that like this show is a success.
We are
And
now
yes,
officially, you know,
BL
BL
influencer.
influencers. Yeah.
Yeah, ignore all of the other stickers I've printed saying that and all of the other things that
I'm so excited. Like, you want to be here for the live next
yeah,
week
you
to talk
definitely want to
about
be here
this.
for that. Absolutely. So thank you to DL Site
Yes,
Garumani
thank you.
for
We love
sponsoring
you.
us. We love you so much. Again, that URL will be in show notes. And again, that is special code, the Yaoi Shelf, to receive 30% off. Let us know what you guys pick. Let
Yeah.
us know.
I want to
Tag
know.
us. Like, tag us. Let us see what you have selected. This is a
Yes.
zero judgment place. But thank you to DL Site. Thank you for sponsoring us. And we are super, super stoked to talk about more of your stuff
Yes.
in the live.
I'm
Now,
so excited.
if you have not been paying attention to the scrolling banner above us, we're going to be talking about the Fujin to queer pipeline. And that sounds a lot more technical than it is, but hear me out. When I started this show and then when Carola joined on this show, there was something that we both sort of noticed and danced around a lot. And that is a lot of us, when we started reading BL and Yaoi, were cisgender little gremlins. And is that
Yeah.
not?
No,
Is,
no, no, you're absolutely right.
and something happened. It was like a puberty metaphor, but like with Sailor Senshi stuff. Like something happened, and now we're not cisgender anymore.
Well,
And
I am, but also
yeah, but also like we're not heterosexual is also the
no.
biggest part of it.
It's
So
very
it's confusing. So a lot of us are either no longer cisgender, but most of us are definitely no longer heterosexual. Some of us, like me, are both.
I am starting to wonder if heterosexuals even exist at this point after,
So I fully believe in the Kinsey scale, which basically says that everyone is on a sliding scale
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
homosexuality. It's just like to what degree. I really do like not even like being ironic. I do not believe that like pure heterosexuals exist. I think that everyone is on this like line of you can be mostly straight, but there's always that one person
Yep.
that you'd be like, my favorite is when you do this like with men that say that they're straight, but then you're like, what is one actor you'd let fuck you? Like Ryan Reynolds. Like they have an answer. Like they have an answer
Yeah, this is actually
immediately.
true.
Like you would like you ask the straightest guy you know and be like, one night, one night in Vegas, your celebrity man crush is like, I'm gonna fuck your ass. They have an answer. I
Yep.
promise you they have an answer. Even if you think they don't have an answer, they have an answer and they will say it. Straight women are like that too. Straight women are my favorites because a lot of straight women also they like it's like the Phoenix Force in comics. They come into their gay sometimes, usually after drinking. And it's like they realize that they get really, really bisexual when they're
Yep.
drunk and they blame the alcohol. It's not the alcohol. It's never the alcohol.
You're just
Um,
a little gay and it's
yeah, you're
fine.
actually just a little gay. That's oh my god, that's my favorite. Isn't it? It's like, oh, it's the alcohol. Oh, I get bisexual when I have tequila.
Oh my
That's not how that's not how that you had to want to kiss women for that to be an inhibition that
And
comes out.
and that's fair because
And
have you
that's fair.
seen women?
Women are so
Like,
good.
women are great.
And some men are also good.
So, yes.
Some Carola got to hear some of my horror stories of guys trying to pick me up, waiting for the
No.
bus.
You know what? Dick gin, guys, not good. Can
Chokes and dies on water.
you stop choking during the podcast? It's so
Stop
bad
making
for
me choke during the
You
podcast.
knew I was gonna say it. You're the
I
one who
really
told me.
didn't. No takebacks, DL site Garamani. This is what you've sponsored.
I'm
This is
so
what your
sorry.
this is what your money
No,
goes for.
I am sure that somewhere in this universe that
There's
it
absolutely
exists
that absolutely
somewhere.
exists.
Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to the fan. My
Hello,
face
fan.
was getting hot. Also, shout out to the now in frame Yeti microphone because you are not a podcaster if your microphone is not very in frame. Uh, so we're going to talk about this pipeline a little bit. We're going to talk about it, personally, and also, maybe some there might be some science. We're
I
not
hope so.
scientists.
We're not scientists.
We're not scientists,
I
but yes.
no. I know nothing. I am absolutely not a scientist.
But also, I want to say, you guys talking to us is what influenced us to do this. Because at first, like, we always knew we were going to do this episode. We would not have done it as expediently as we did if not for the many people who many times asked us to do this. So, your feedback does work. Remember,
Yeah.
bullying is effective.
What? Oh my god.
Tangent. It's Easter, and I was raised Catholic, so I started watching like these like random religious documentaries this morning, and one of them was on like Judas and how like Judas was wronged because he was. And this one documentary also was trying to do this thing of like, oh, we're gonna go through the trial of Jesus, but in it, like one of the first segments was, okay, we're gonna call in a guy who was like former Israeli police, and we're gonna say, how would you arrest Jesus? And he's like spec ops. So he's like, first, I would have, 3 men here, 3 men here, 3 men there, control the crowd. Then I would grab Jesus by the back of the neck and lift his arm up and pin Jesus to the ground. And I'm like, the amount of fanfic and weird LARPing that Christians do, one is horrifying. Two, sir, you just said that you would police crime Jesus. Like, is that something you're proud of? That, like, on TV, you're like, I would chokehold Jesus? Like, you don't have to be a Christian to acknowledge that, like, that's not a great move. I mean, unless you are, a person in America who believes the cops all the time. A cab on Sunday. Uh,
Yay! On Easter Sunday, I thought.
I mean, we all know Jesus would have been ACAB. Literally, he was killed by a police
I
state.
mean, yeah.
Like, he was literally killed by a police state. There is no reason. We're not going to get into that tangent because you'll never get me back. But bullying works. So if there's stuff that you guys want us to talk about it with us
Yes!
because we listen. Again, we do firmly believe in being surface tops here. We do listen.
We do listen, and we want to hear what you have to say because, we like having conversations.
For sure,
And
for sure.
yeah.
And this is also where I'll say we're speaking from personal experience here and we're speaking anecdotally a lot. So if this has not been your experience, you are not wrong. That's
Nope.
fine. If your experience has been different, you are also not wrong. That is fine.
And if you want to tell us about your experience,
And you're
absolutely do, because
comfortable
we want to
doing
hear it.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. And that means we will expect a certain level of calm and respect in yield comments, which you guys are pretty good at
Yes.
doing. I don't need to say it, but it would be negligent not to, just for any new listeners that come by. Also, if this is the episode that you come in on, well, we're glad to have you regardless.
Yes.
Please ignore the fact that I am surrounded by birds and fancy clothes. I was talking to a friend and I was like, I don't really know what kind of gay I am. Like, I'm not a mushroom gay. I'm not a bee gay. I'm not any kind of gay like that. And she's like, you're a bird gay. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, you don't know what I'm talking about. She's like,
You are.
you have no idea. She's like, you really don't get, okay. And I was just like this, like, I don't know what you mean.
Stage 1, denial. And
Yeah,
confusion.
stage one. Stage one, denial. So, firstly, what is gender and how is it different from sex?
Are you asking me?
Well, I mean, I can. Would you like me to ask you?
Dramatic pause.
Dramatic pause. Uh, so gender is the dressing of sex or not of sex. Basically, biological sex is like the physical chromosomal level of what you were born with, and gender is the fancy dressing gown that goes over sex.
Yes.
Sometimes that means that you are cisgender, as in the carpet and the drapes match. Sometimes you are transgender, in which those two things do not match. Sometimes you are a gender deviant like me, and nothing matches, and everything is fine. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah, I think that is a very good way of describing it. And also, of course, to just, because sex isn't as simple. A lot of people like to say this. A lot of people like to be like, I have researched this when they've looked at a Wikipedia article for 5 minutes, and they will be arguing with some scientist on the internet, and the scientist is there saying, sex is also a spectrum because chromosomes are friggin' weird. I personally don't know a lot about chromosomes, but there are a lot of constellations that can do and will happen, and you don't necessarily, you don't necessarily have the stereotypical. Do you even say stereotypical? What are the female chromosomes? I don't know. Okay, but
XX.
yeah, XX. But that doesn't have to be. That doesn't have to be the case. You can have. They can be different, but you can.
Yes. So
intersex exists, and
so that's not necessarily chromosomal. That's on the genital level.
Yeah.
So that's also a thing, but we're not talking about that because we're not doctors.
No,
and
obviously.
And intersex people have their whole other thing that I am not qualified to talk on, as I am not intersex. But yeah, like chromosomes are weird. Like my cousin is XXY, but born male. So that's a weird chromosome thing.
Yeah.
There are plenty of women that are XY, but are still kind of women, or are also XXY. Chromosomes can get weird, and it happens. Basically, yes.
And in nature, there are plenty of species that are designed to evolve so that, there aren't enough males in this area, so some females will change their sex because it's necessary.
I feel like, yeah, yeah,
Jurassic
that happens.
Park. I'm sorry, I had to.
You no, you did not have to. You chose to.
I chose to because I like Jurassic Park a whole lot. Okay, but yeah, but the point is, nature is weird,
Nature is weird.
sex is weird, gender
Hmm.
is weird, and
Hmm.
there is no one size fits all, and it's not a simple binary normal. Like
No, not at all.
it's
There
all over
is,
the place, and it's great.
and now that we move into our topic on gender identity, how much of that changes from society to society?
Mm,
How much of that changes based upon religion? How much of that changes just based upon just everything? So, gender identity then is the acceptance or not acceptance of the gender dressing.
yep,
Uh, so, if you are a cisgender woman, that means a X amount of things, typically dressing feminine. But again, that leads on a tricky thing because what was feminine 50 years ago was not feminine 500 years ago. All of these things change because
yep.
that's how society works. We're not here to talk about the patriarchal and Christian heteronormative implications of that because we would no longer be talking about BL and it would just be two old gays whinging.
Yep. I think that
Which,
covers it. Yeah.
like, we could talk a lot about that stuff, but it would just be two old gays whinging.
Yep.
Uh, which leads me to also go into sexual orientation, which is not on the podcast. Sexual orientation, or what you like, is, as mentioned, oftentimes a spectrum.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think either of us fully believe that anyone is truly straight. Again, we're not doctors, those are our opinions. But you have a bisexual host and a pansexual host, and yeah, that's just how things are.
It just yeah, it just happened, you know? It's such a
Mm-hmm.
fun it's such a fun road to go down, because you're like, "Oh, okay. This is new." And there's a
Yeah,
word for that now. Exciting.
there is. And we're both here to talk about how maybe us being Fujin possibly accelerated us down these paths. Um, we also need to talk about how gender is weird
Yeah.
with love. Uh, I am gender fluid, which is under the gender non binary camp, even though I'm not non binary. I just don't necessarily fully identify as male or female. My body and brain said, why not both? Both male and female side of me are very different. You definitely know when I'm having a boy day. You definitely know when I'm having a girl day. My masculinity is not threatened by having a thick ass and nice tits or by dresses. And I experience very little gender dysphoria, yes.
No, just good for your masculine side, good
My
for your male
masculinity
side.
is
Yes.
very secure.
We like that.
Yeah. And I experience very little gender dysphoria. I'm not here to talk about gender dysphoria on a whole because, again, that is a minefield that I do not wish to broach right now. Everyone's gender experience is different. I am not here to downplay anyone who did experience really, really crushing dysphoria. I'm also not here to belittle anyone who didn't. Gender is weird and
Yep.
it is in a lot of ways fluid. And a lot of it is impacted by our parents, our religion, our households, our pop culture. See, I'm leading us somewhere, getting us there. Our
You're doing a
society.
great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like looking back at my childhood, there were a lot of little things that should have been a red flag that I would end up the way that I am. Uh, when we would play like Sailor Moon as kids, I always wanted to be Tuxedo Mask. Like
Yeah.
even as a kid, I always wanted to be Tuxedo Mask. Uh,
Even though he does nothing.
yeah, he does fuck all. I mean,
That's
which
why, you just want the credit without
hello,
and the
it's
nice the nice tuxedo, like,
It
you
should
know.
really, it should be very apparent what I was going for. Uh, when I wanted to learn the Team Rocket motto, so my dad learned Jesse's part so I could be James. And like that's like very like wholesome little like gender things, but like in hindsight, when I came out as gender fluid, it shouldn't have been such a shock to my family because I've already inhibited this weird niche of being both very comfortable as being
Yeah,
feminine, but also very okay playing the male role.
yeah. And
Uh,
you,
yes.
I can absolutely relate to that because even though
Mm-hmm,
I consider myself to be cisgender,
mm-hmm,
I had a very similar experience because I always identified with male characters growing up. I
mm-hmm,
always wanted to be the male character when I was playing with my friends when I was a kid, and
mm-hmm,
all my favorites were male. And this, again, I've said this before, but this had a lot to do with basically internalized misogyny on how femininity and female characters were presented to me, so they didn't feel
yes.
like an option. I didn't want to be sweet and docile and feminine and dress in dresses and enjoy pink.
Yes.
And I think that because I was a tomboy and I was accepted as a tomboy, but I think that if
Mm-hmm,
I had been younger,
mm-hmm,
now I probably would have questioned my gender identity a lot more because when I was 15 years old, I didn't know that you could be non-binary and
mm-hmm,
gender fluid. And
mm-hmm,
I'm very happy with the identity I have now, but I do think I would have questioned it more. But I absolutely identified much stronger with the male characters and with the male
mm-hmm,
roles, and to an
mm-hmm,
extent I still do, but
mm-hmm,
I think that in while I do consider myself to be cis, I also think that I'm kind of like gender apathetic. Like I don't really care.
yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see that for you. I think that's why I'm so eager to lump you in fully because I've always just like Carola is this gender. I don't know what it is, but she's
No,
not cis. Like I
I'm this gender. This gender. There is
yeah.
something. I have a gender. No one knows what it is anymore.
Yeah, like it's almost like there's like a placeholder there,
Yeah. And
but
it's fine.
it's never cis.
And I'm just like, I honestly don't care at this point. Like,
Right.
whatever. You
And
know.
I do want to hammer in a point about internalized misogyny because
Yeah.
that's going to lead us into how did BL make your host special? So, as I mentioned, I am gender fluid and bisexual. I am technically omnisexual. I fully don't know what that means outside of mega whore.
I
I'm
mean,
not making fun of omnisexuals, but I don't know what that means.
maybe that's what it means for you. You know, it's like
Yeah,
how
but like,
I am a pansexual,
mm-hmm.
but I hate everybody. So it's like, okay, I can choose.
I
I
don't
can I can
know.
choose, but I
That's
don't like
cheating.
anyone.
That's cheating. You don't. That's
It's true though.
cheating. So, like, for me, I'm technically bisexual, but my version of bisexuality has never excluded non binary people,
Yeah.
which, yeah, technically puts me more in the pan omni category, but I've never related to those terms.
Yeah,
I've always
exactly.
very strongly related to bisexual.
And in the
Also,
same
all the
way,
colors together.
yeah. But I also like that because, like, when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
we thought bisexual meant, two genders.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that a lot of people still operate with that. That is
Mm-hmm.
the main reason why I started identifying as a pansexual because that felt
Mm-hmm.
right to me. But I
It isn't because
absolutely
you are sexually attracted to pans.
no, I really am not. Can
So,
I just, it's like trying to explain this to people. And of course, in Norwegian, because pan doesn't really mean anything.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'll be like, I'm pansexual. And they're like, what does that mean? And then I'm like, okay, so that means I'm attracted to, like, everyone. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
about personality. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
or what I find aesthetically pleasing. It's not about gender. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
so you're attracted to everything. I'm like, yes. And then they're like, so, like, trees and animals? I'm like, no, 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 every single time. I'm mostly attracted to fictional characters. Leave me alone.
I mean, same, same. Uh,
Ah,
so I will say, at least for me, again, aforementioned weird gender childhood, and then around 10 years old, there was a little sprinkling of the trauma,
yeah,
just a little sprinkling of the
a little.
trauma, and then I got a heavier pinch around 12, 13. Uh, so by the time I was, really starting to like question like my sexuality and my gender, I had a whole 14 years of Southern indignation around very like narrow roles for women in the
Mm,
South. At 17 years old, my great grandmother looked at me and said, "Why aren't you married yet?"
fun.
And I was like, "Weh." Um, I had on both sides great grandmothers that, were just, they were great Southern women, but they were also Southern women. One of them was a violent colorist and always said, "I'm glad you're not a darkie," which
Oh
is lovely
wow.
to hear from your great grandmother.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
She also looked at me and said, "I wish I could gain weight like you do."
the lack of filter in a lot of old people is like,
And like that, it sounds almost like a compliment. That
yeah,
it almost sounds like a compliment.
almost, but then
And
it's
then you
like,
think about it for longer than a second, and it's like, you dusty old bitch. Uh, and I, similar to Carola, I really had a lot of internalized misogyny. I was looking at female anime characters and not being able to relate to them at all.
yep.
Uh, I will say it probably started with Inuyasha, where I was looking at Kagome and like, "I'm just a normal 14-year-old girl, and these are the hardest parts of my day," and I'm like, shriveled in a corner, like I've buried my father by the time that I was 14. Like, so when I look like the characters that I was relating to back then, Edward Elric was a huge one. Red flag on the field. Uh, red flag. you know, for a brief moment, Light Yagami was one. Red flag on the field.
That
Uh,
one,
I
yeah.
I liked Light a lot when I was younger. I was
I mean,
very firmly Team Kira when I was a
I
kid.
liked him for a while, and then I was like,
Yeah,
you absolute bitch.
I was really firmly Team Kira for quite some time. Uh, you start looking at all these characters that are male that you can relate to. And, at least for me, I think by the time I was like 16, 17 years old, I had figured out that I didn't just like men. I liked men, or at least like I liked the idea of men, trauma. But I also really liked tits. Tits are really nice. Like,
You're not. I mean, you're not wrong.
I know, but like,
I'm more of an ass person, but like, you know.
yeah, and oh my god, so I'm gonna sound gross, but like, I was president of the anime club, so like, I had a monopoly on all the nerd girls, and yeah, it was just like, I know, I was using my power. I was using my power. There was an unfair
This
power
is why
dynamic.
your scores in ye old Ukeseme quizzes were that's it. You were a power abuser.
I was a power abuser for, because I had all the access to all the weeb shit. And yeah, I think just like 16, 17, I just started kissing girls. And then it was like, yeah, this will be a phase. It's
Yeah.
been 20
So
years.
again, you're the master of long cons. And yeah, for me, it was like I can actually pinpoint the exact moment I realized that I wasn't straight because I was I I had a boyfriend
hmm
and we were very happy like he was fine, everything was fine. And every
hmm
single weekend we would go with our friends and we would rent horror movies and we would be up all
hmm
night watching horror films. And then
hmm
afterwards we couldn't sleep, so we we would be playing GTA all night because we couldn't sleep because of the horror films, and we would just be
hmm
like a group of friends together. And
hmm
one day we walked into one of the two video stores because I had my video store, but then his brother had a rental card at the other store, so he
Of
preferred
course.
going there. And we came in, so it's me and him and a friend of ours, a straight guy, and we come in, and there's a new girl behind the counter, and I just went, "Oh my god!" Like, I lost, like my mind just went blank, and I didn't
Hmm.
know how to talk. And like, straight friend was also the exact same. Like, this girl was so cute, and we were both like, "Oh my god!" And that in that
Hmm.
moment, I was like, "Oh, oh, okay," and then that was it. And I haven't looked back since. But it was
Yeah.
like
I
that was
think
the exact moment.
I think for me, when I realized that it was like a thing and not just like, horny kids being horny kids, because I kind of embraced like the Japanese ideal of it. I used air quotes if you're a listener only. That like you go through a gay phase. When you're surrounded by nothing but women, of course, you're going to want to do some smooching. Like I was kind of still in that mindset. And I shit you not, it was The Spirit, which is a terrible movie about a comic book character that no one else cares about but me. But Ava Mendez is in that movie. And there's a scene where she's like seducing someone and she sits her ass on the printer and it does a photocopy of her ass and she presents it to the guy and it's like a perfect ass indeed. And I'm like, I would do whatever this woman wanted me to. Whatever Ava Mendez in The Spirit as Sans Serif wanted, I would make that happen. I was like 17 or so maybe, and it's like whatever Ava Mendez says. If she wanted me to bark like a dog, I would do it. And I was like, oh, this isn't just like a phase. This isn't just like a
Yeah.
horny thing, that you're doing with your friends in the hallway. Like this is a thing. And then like the attraction to fictional characters ratcheted up where there's like female characters that it's just like brain ooze.
Yeah. Hello, Sailor Uranus.
Like I definitely have like a type of female character that is just like brain ooze out of ear,
Yeah.
like a lot.
Absolutely.
My friends can spot it a mile away, but it's like Rangiku from Bleach, Tsunade. Like I would like to be
Mm.
injured, please. Uh, but we're not talking about how BL may have played a part in this. And for me, at least, one part of it was just community. It was, and in a lot of ways still is, a fairly feminine AFAB space.
Yeah.
So a lot of other BL and Fujin fans back in the day were girls my age.
Yeah.
So
And
yes.
I know, I was just gonna say that, and the funny thing is that most of them probably still are around, but they are no longer girls
Women. Yes,
your
exactly.
age.
Exactly. They're all around still. Just you can't say they're girls anymore.
Yeah.
Me. And a lot of it started innocently enough, just with interest. You couldn't talk
Mm.
about this stuff with your guy friends. Because, of course you had guy friends. You were probably a tomboy. You were probably a not like other girls girl.
Hello. Yeah. I only had guy friends, but I did talk to them about it because they couldn't escape.
Yeah, I definitely there's a Tumblr image of like it's this guy who's naked and like there's a giant goldfish laying on top of him and it's a glub 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 and one of the messages responding is like what the fuck and the response is you were never supposed to see this side of me. That was me with my guy friends in BL.
Oh
That it's like
god.
you were never supposed to know the truth.
No,
Uh
yeah, no, I was just like, listen, you guys, you have to enjoy this with me. We're all
I
going
think I
down together.
I think I tried that like once, got barked at aggressively, and then was like, never again. Return to the shadows, just like slink into the shadows. But in the shadows were women.
Yeah.
But in
So,
the shadows were women. So it was great. Um, and yeah, like first it was just community. And then at least for me, where it gets extra spicy is I started writing as male characters. To this
mm,
day, I almost exclusively write as men. I
I think
started
I have
voice
like,
acting. Yes.
yeah, I think I have like two female characters who actually play parts in my books.
Well, that's nice. Good for them.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Good
good
for them.
girls. Like,
Yeah.
good for them. But
I mean, like like I jumped the ship to avoid misogyny by just ignoring women.
I don't know
Uh,
if that is if that
it's
is
not,
the power
spoiler.
move you think it is.
It's not, spoiler alert, it isn't. Go seek help.
Like,
Fix the misogyny
how
within
can
you.
I fix the misogyny by just excluding women altogether? I'm sure that that is so
I'm
far
not
from the Bechdel test that you're not even
I'm
you're not
not
even in the
racist.
room.
I just avoid other races.
Yeah, I think there's a word for that. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's not a great way to treat your misogyny is by just becoming a man. But
That's horrible.
how do I fix my misogyny?
I become a man.
Ignore women. Embrace
um
men.
that yeah, but
No
we,
longer misogynist.
we we were young
We were
and
young
the
and dumb,
world
and the
we
world
didn't
was
know
cruel.
anything.
We
Yeah.
really didn't. Uh, so I figured out that I was bisexual pretty early on. Like our gay lesbian alliance at school did acknowledge bisexuals a little bit. So like I
Oh
understood
good.
bisexual. I mean barely, but like it was on the flag. So they kind of
We didn't even, because obviously, different schools. We didn't have anything like that, like alliances.
I mean I wouldn't say
Or
ours
anything.
was good, but we definitely did. Also, most of us were like theater kids, so we all knew we were kind of
Eh,
fruity.
eh.
Like,
But we were like, I think I was like 14 or 15, and I just
mm,
remember after that whole thing with the video girl, I I remember being pulled aside into um like a computer room in school by some of my friends, and they were like,
mhm.
"Is it true that you're a bisexual?" And I was like,
You're not
"Yeah."
an
And they're like,
alien. Oh my god.
"Oh, okay." Oh, like, what? What? What was
You're
the
not
point of that?
you're not like a foreign creature. What?
It was so weird. And this was like before the whole,
Mhm,
because after this came that era where everyone was like bisexual, where it was like a thing, like a
mhm.
status thing. And of course a lot of them were, but it became
Yeah,
like a
I
big
got
thing.
to I got to float into a little bit of that where like it wasn't necessarily like my gay lesbian alliance at school that cared because like with most biphobia, a lot of it is done by gay and lesbian
Yeah.
men and women. Like a lot of biphobia is not straight people. Straight people are just like, ooh, threesome. Uh
Which is
it's which yeah, it's
no.
not correct, but it's not fear. Um a lot of the biphobia that I've experienced in my life has been from lesbian women who are like, "You're gonna steal my girl," and then from gay men, "You're gonna steal my guy."
I think
Like we're wolves.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting how, at least here, I feel like a lot of the perception of bisexuals is like, if you're a bi girl, you
Hmm.
just want attention. You are lying because you want attention. And if you're a
Hmm.
bi guy, then that just means that you're too afraid to actually come out of the closet.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's how it's
Or
been.
or the other big thing with bi women is that you are just a slut. You will literally just like sleep with anything. And
Yeah.
while that is true, you can be a slut and a bisexual. Those two things are not the same.
And if you want to be a slut, like, go ahead.
Be free.
You do you. Like, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
As
I
long as you're
mean,
not hurting anyone who doesn't want to be hurt.
yeah.
Some people
Like,
want to
you
be
can be
hurt.
a heart, and like, you can be a heartbreaker. Like, every
Mhm.
time Shane enters a room, a girl leaves crying. Like, that makes sense, but don't, don't do the thing where you're like cheating on people and things, because that's not cool. That's what I
Yeah.
meant. But yeah,
I mean,
no.
the greatest bisexual icon will always be Maureen from Rent.
I still haven't seen Rent. I am working on it. I'm working on it.
You need to work harder.
I know.
You need to work harder.
Tell
Uh,
it to the theaters in my city that never stage
I
it. Like, I
will.
was waiting.
I will send you the DVD.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll go mail you a DVD copy.
Yes.
But that'll be our next Patreon episode. Is I force Carola to watch Rent,
I don't think you have to force me. I'm very excited. We watched
where it's a bunch of like 30, 40 year olds pretending to be like 20 somethings.
so like us then. Like me.
Okay, I did not need for you to pull me in on that attack because I've not pretended to be young.
I don't want to be alone.
Yeah, I noticed. You just dragged me under. Like, what are all those horrible Scandinavian monsters that like look chill and then they pull you under to kill you? What's the one that plays the violin and like is trying to murder
Again?
you? Yeah, that.
Nukken. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need that. That's
You know,
not what I thought.
there's actually a condom brand here called Nukken because, that's,
Why? Why?
I don't know.
Did they use protection?
I don't know. It's like, I guess it's because he's supposed to be like seductive or whatever, but it's like
But
mythological, murderous,
yeah, but it's like
dangerous
crime. Like, yeah, like I guess he's seductive, but it's crime.
He's modern now. He has his fiddle and his condoms. So when he so when he goes for it, he's like, I don't know. I didn't think of it.
He's modern now. He has condoms.
He uses protection when he pulls you under the wall.
I don't like that.
Ask Sweden. I think it was their idea, as usual. As per usual.
Okay, look, we're not shaming Sweden. They try very hard.
I shame Sweden. And I love Sweden, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta shame them. Like, they are terrible at pizza. Like, they just can't do it.
I can't even wrap my head around a Swedish pizza. Like, that sounds like a sex euphemism.
It's so... This has nothing to do with anything, but I was literally hanging out with my mom last week, and we were talking about Sweden, and I don't know why. And then she was like, but they suck at making pizza. I'm like, yes, I've never had a good pizza in Sweden. She was like, no, me neither. And then it's really weird, because Sweden invented the kebab pizza, but somehow they suck at everything. And kebab pizza is really yummy, but like...
Okay, so Sweden, we need to talk about y'all's pizza. Because the one that has, bananas on it...
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
the one
a thing.
that has kiwi on it, we need to have a conversation.
They're not... Yeah.
We need to have several conversations. From the way it reads, Norwegian pizza is not that bad. But Sweden, we need to have a nice, firm conversation about y'all's loose interpretations of pizza.
And it's
yes.
No. It's like if you buy a frozen pizza in Sweden, it's like eating flatbread with some ketchup and cheese on it. I don't understand. It is disgusting. I'm basing this on one frozen pizza that I ate in Sweden once.
I'm very unhappy by this. But so where BL also got to influence at least like my gender was again like the making of works. So I did a lot of like fan voice acting as a male character, including Yuki Eri, even though I started as a Suichi Shindo. I started as a Suichi.
That's a very interesting pipeline you got there.
I don't know how it happened, and then there was a Ryuichi in the middle, so I guess like that connects the two.
It's not the worst gravitation idea you've had. Like, just the way that presented itself in my head, it was like, Shuichi and Yuki. It's
like a 3-tier evolution of Pokemon that starts with Suichi and ends with Eri.
Oh my god.
But like Ryuichi's in the center.
What happens between the Ryuichi and Eri? That's
poor medical management of your mental illnesses. You can stay as stage 2 forever. That's not... You can't blame Toma for all
I
that.
blame Toma for literally everything.
Eri can read. He has to know that his medication are just like 3 Smarties and a Wish.
Oh god.
Just shaking a bottle of Pez. Yes.
I love him from the bottom of my heart, but Jesus Christ.
Like, he has to know that his medication is like 3 Smarties and a Pez. Time to take your medicine. Why does my medicine taste like cherry? Don't worry about it. Comes from a special pharmacy.
Oh my god.
Comes from a special pharmacy.
Yeah. The candy aisle. Oh my god.
They're like not even unwrapped. It just says Smarties. It's just a pill bottle with Smarties in it. It's like, what's this? Oh, those are the placebo days. It's like, are we supposed to have placebo days for psychotropics? Yes.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's
Uh,
fine.
so writing as a male and, reading as a male and speaking as a male, that did a weird thing to my brain where I was
Mm.
like, huh, I suddenly feel very comfortable. Almost like that's a sign of something.
What could that possibly mean?
You know, I'm not, I'm just guessing, but it might be a little bit of gender fluidity. That it was also then very easy for me to like take that off like a jacket and then resume my daily life as an AFAB person. That gender was like a Technicolor dream coat that I could put on and
Mm.
off. And that's still in a lot of ways how it is. I always struggle with like the non-binary part of the umbrella because it's always been very binary to me. Male and female me are very different. They exist on a binary. They're just
Yeah.
in one confused person.
It's like
So like,
the two parts know perfectly well what they're doing, but the host
yeah,
is like,
they both they have different names, they have different existences outside of each other. They separately know what they're doing. Me, I'm just like, I'm here.
yep.
And it's weird because it sort of feels like that like bisexual hiding thing where it's like, I don't often present masculine because aforementioned fat ass and giant tits. Uh Not because like binding doesn't do something for me. It's just physically harder to do.
Mm.
So for the few moments of like gender euphoria, it's not always worth having someone's knee in my back to get it.
Yeah.
And again, not that my masculine side is offended by that. And I'm by no means putting down the effort that trans men and, trans non binary people do to fit said aesthetic and to fit their gender. It just didn't fit for me.
Yeah.
So having gender almost be this thing of like, yeah, both sides are there, and sometimes one is stronger than the other, but I can almost like blend in. That definitely, I think, has created more angst than anything else. It's that same angst that a lot of bi people have where we air quotes pass as straight. Uh, which please don't tell a bi person they pass as straight. Please don't tell a bi woman who marries a man that she's straight passing. We know. We don't like men either. Like we don't like we're not happy about this either.
But
Like realistically, yes, go ahead.
no, but and it's like the the part of a bisexual person who likes the opposite sex is still valid. It's
Mm-hmm.
still because they're still a person. You're attracted to people. You're attracted to you
Mm-hmm.
know you fall in love with people. You're attracted to people, and
Mm-hmm.
I've never I've never liked that when it's like one thing is erasing the bi identity by being like, oh, but
Mm-hmm.
you're straight, or oh, but you're gay, but also the
Mm-hmm.
whole, I mean, yeah, a lot of men suck, but a lot of men don't suck, and it's like I just think
Mm-hmm.
I really think we need to work on that culture of like talking smack about people's partners to their faces because we
Mm-hmm.
think that men suck. I'm like, dude, that's their person. That's
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I guess like a part of me gets it, but like I never liked this idea that like lesbian women are in this like a higher council that like look down on bisexual women that are like, oh, you'll come around soon enough.
yeah.
And it's like it's a horrible rite of passage that we have to, it's Hades game, but with men. And we have to defeat all the men to find out that our true reincarnation is being a lesbian.
It's so yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
that's not, I mean, though I also do very much agree with like the joke on TikTok that like saying that you're a bisexual woman is that you are attracted to all women and like 1% of men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I hate to say it, that is very true. And like those men that you're ride or die for are almost always fictional or actors. And then like the three you know in real life that are chill.
Yeah, but I mean, it's true. Like, I mean, at least speaking from a personal
Mm-hmm.
experience, like, yeah, I'm pansexual. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
care less about your gender identity or what's in your pants, you know? But at the same time, I have literally only been attracted to one real person, like one real guy in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can find like musicians and actors hot, but like they don't count. They might as well be fictional characters. Like, when is Heath from X Japan ever gonna realize that he was meant to be my husband? You know, he doesn't know that. I did not just say that, but okay.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I love him. Anyway. I mean, he is a gorgeous man, but he might as well be a fictional character because he's miles away, you know? But I had one person that was a guy that I was attracted to, and the rest of all the people I've been attracted to have been women
Yeah.
or various flavors of other
Yeah.
genders. And
Yeah. And like I've dated trans masks. I've dated trans men. I've dated trans women. I've dated cis women. I've dated weird gender voids.
we love a good gender
I
void.
love a good shout out to Aerie.
Yeah,
We love a
shout out
good
to
gender
Ari.
void.
I was about to say.
Aerie is secretly in every episode going forward. Aerie is secretly in every episode moving forward. But
We
like
love you, Ari.
we love you, Aerie. But like, you know, I do kind of struggle with that idea of like, yeah, for if you are a bisexual, that like you're on a tortured path to
Yeah.
lesbianism.
This is true.
That like you're just on this like long, arduous trail up to like ascension, which is being a lesbian. And don't get me wrong, I know some gorgeous as fuck lesbian women, and a lot of them do look like they have their lives together in a way that I never can. But bisexuality is valid, as is gender
Yeah.
fluidity.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't experience agonizing dysphoria or have to go through surgery doesn't mean that my gender is any less valid or that my
Yeah.
gender expression is any less valid. Which ties into another part of BL that can make people a little less than straight and a little less than cisgender cosplay.
Woohoo! Yes.
When I tell you how amazing it was to bind and to pack for the first time, and how weirdly affirming that felt,
Yeah.
to look in the mirror and finally see the person that I always thought that I was on the inside, which was Yuki Eri.
I was going to say, well, he's a good person, but then I was like, you know what?
He's not a good
Let's
person.
let's
He's not a good person.
leapfrog
We are not
over that.
we are not going to call Yuki Eri a good person.
I love him, but Jesus Christ, the man.
I
serious.
built an entire gender around him, and I can acknowledge he is a flaming garbage can.
I love it.
Yeah, he's our garbage can, but he is a flaming garbage can. And I can promise you that there are a lot of Fujin that have done their first attempts at binding, usually with duct tape. Yes, we know it's bad. No, we didn't have other means back in the day.
We used to use bandages.
We used ace bandages and or duct tape. Which, yeah, some of us are still missing nipple
oh,
that we'll never get back. Like
I once did. This was actually not that long ago. It was in like 2016. I did an open chest binding with double-sided tape. And it was fine. Like, it was fine because this tape wasn't really like, it wasn't like duct tape. But the problem is I left it on too long and I had like blisters, like the under boob blisters. It was horrendous. I was like, never doing that again. No.
Yep. So now I just use like compression shirts because it takes down a little bit of boob. You can't see my tits. They're enormous, unfortunately. But like they take down like just a little bit of boob. So like from the front, it's usually pretty flat. From the side, it's all like right here. Like all the boob is right here on the side. But from the front, it's looking pretty smooth.
But it also always looks better from a distance than, because when you look down, you sort of see it
Yeah, you can see the curvature of the tit.
Yeah, but you don't see it from from a
Like
distance, and it
it's the
always looks
earth.
really good.
Like you're explaining it to flat earthers. You can always see the curvature of the breast.
Yes. Oh my
I mean, that's
god.
what it is. Like I mean, it's like drag sometimes. Definitely from a distance, I look like a passable man. Do not come up here. Do
Yeah,
not
like please
see. Yeah,
stay.
from 30 feet away, I look like Bok Chang. If you come any closer, you notice my giant ass and childbearing hips and this giant cresting of a tit right here. Like
Oh my god.
we're all trying so hard. Uh, but also like not to toot my own horn too much, but like there are photos of me like as mellow as Bok Chang, as these blonde sociopaths because I have a type and a gender.
No, you think?
Can I help you?
No.
Is there something that I can do
No, it's
for
fine.
you?
No.
I know I feel like you have something that you'd like to say to me
You
because
usually don't like it when I
that felt a little pointed in my direction. Yes, I have a thing for blonde sociopaths. uh where I just like look really happy and I just like am really feeling it. And a lot of that, yeah, is internalized misogyny because when I was younger, I didn't feel good in my body. Not like a gender way, just like I didn't feel good. I developed tits way too fast. I was sexualized really, really fast in society.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I will not tell this story on camera because it is triggering as hell. But I can remember down to the moment that I was sexualized too young. And I was 13. So I developed tits really, really fast. I've always been of size. So I never really liked my body. But when I was dressed up as Yuki Eri, I could steal some of his confidence for a little while. When I'm dressed up as Mello, Mello loves himself, arguably too much. So
I mean,
so the least I can do is have a little bit of that confidence.
yeah.
Bok Chang also loves himself, arguably too much. I can steal some of his confidence. So it was almost like a lot of drag queens will talk about drag this way, that it's like a gay suit of armor.
Yeah.
That's kind of what crossplay ended up becoming to me. And like even if I don't pass as male anymore, which to be honest I never really did because of, aforementioned tits. It's a very different kind of feeling to like look at yourself as a blonde sociopath and be like, this is me.
Yeah. I mean, that yeah.
I mean,
Maybe not the sociopath part. Maybe slightly.
a blonde narcissist and
Yeah.
be like, this is me. What is that horrible song from The Greatest Showman?
Yes.
It's that, but with blonde, mentally ill men.
God. I need someone to do that as like a skit at a con, like
it's just mentally unstable blonde men.
oh
And
dear.
this is me.
Oh. It's like, yeah, and then you can just march straight from that dressing room into therapy. Just segue in there. This is
So
me. I
me.
need some.
Yeah, this is me. I clearly need help. I am unwell.
Yeah. Well, but but I absolutely understand, and because again, I've also done a lot of cross-playing, and at first I only used to bind for for the characters, for the crossplay, and then I realized I felt so good doing it. And again, God knows what my gender identity is supposed to be, still considering myself as cis, but I've always preferred an androgynous style and an androgynous body. And when I started, so I just at some point started binding on a regular basis. Like I would wear a binder because I think I look better with a flat chest and I feel happier and more comfortable that way. I think my clothes look better. And I was like, I wouldn't have discovered that if it hadn't been for cosplay, because I wouldn't have experimented with it in that way, because it didn't feel like, why would I, there would be no reason for me to remove the boobs. But then I'm like, but
absolutely,
this is good. I feel good like this.
Yeah. And I like binding because I am very aware that I don't like paying for drinks at bars. So, which is the one benefit of having large tits, is I haven't had to pay for my own drinks in a while.
I mean, that's good if you're a drinker. Like,
I,
the least these things can do is like do you a favor.
Carola, I would happily get you as many free sodas as you need. If we're at a bar, it's just like me with like a stack of shots, and then just you with like a Shirley Temple, and just just you with like a Shirley Temple and like a little umbrella, just like yay.
I love me a gay umbrella, okay? Like a
So,
little gay one.
so fun fact: my dad was one of those people that like. So I live a comic book life because my dad had a comic book life, and one of my dad's comic book jobs was he used to be a bouncer at a jazz club. This is true.
Hmm?
The jazz club was called the Caravan of Dreams.
Wow, that that's a neat name.
I love it. And I spent a lot of my childhood there as a kid. So if you need an image that is wholesome, you can just imagine like tiny, tiny little Amanda sitting at the bar of a jazz club with like a pineapple juice and a straw and like a cherry on a sword and then like an umbrella, just like this is the best night of my life.
I love that. Yes.
So I think it's important to hallmark on all these ways that BL helped facilitate these gender conversations.
Mm.
And this has been a pretty positive conversation. Uh, so let's talk about why does this seem to be a thing outside of all the aforementioned reasons. One, I think it'd be irresponsible to admit that we were doing this at a premier time for us to be questioning our gender.
Yeah.
Most of us were 14 to 17 years old. While many of us had gone through puberty, we probably didn't necessarily go through it in a society or in a way that was having a lot of great open dialogues. Cough all of us in the US.
Yeah, I think I was taking on the job as a group sexologist for my friends. Like everyone came to me with questions. I was the one hoarding pamphlets at like the nurse's office and everything. So I was like, everyone came to me. I had a pretty good idea of things, but
Mhm.
I think we did better than you guys probably because like the U.S. and the South in particular. I feel like you're
I was
yeah.
okay. So my role was I was everyone's beard. I was like the girlfriend that like my bi and straight friends or my bi and gay friends could like bring home and be like, oh, this is Amanda. You know, she's educated, she's brilliant, she talk good, and she has tits and a vagine. So girlfriend that I do the sex with, see girlfriend, and then you know like we would just sit upstairs and like read yaoi and flirt
I
with
mean that's
boys together.
that counts as doing the sex. I mean to be honest.
I mean, yeah, but like oh my god, I was beard to like so many of like my bi and gay friends. Of just like, yes, this girlfriend, look, yeah, it does feel like those Borat moments, like has vagina sex. It's just like, yes.
And meanwhile, you know, I didn't have to my knowledge, I
Mm-hmm.
was the gay friend or you know the bi friend. I didn't have any. I didn't like. I didn't have any friends who swung any other ways. Like everyone seemed to be straight. And
Mm-hmm.
what I think is interesting is that now I am still friends with a lot of these people, but there are so many of them who are no longer straight or cis or you know. Of course, they never were, but they didn't know that. And what they all have in common
Mm-hmm.
is that we've all bonded over BL
Mm-hmm.
and none of them are cis or straight anymore. And
Yep.
yeah. And I think we
Yep.
all have that, like the gang. Remember how when we were like we were in our, you know, early mid-teens and we were reading fanfic and everyone was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, it is so unrealistic that everyone in this friends group is gay." And I was like, "Hello." What is a straight person? I haven't seen one in 84 years.
I think I only have like two, like I think I have like two or three like straight friends, and everyone
Yeah.
else is on like some spectrum of fruity.
I love the
Or
pink.
like they're all like they're the one step away from like if a woman approached them at a bar, it'd be like, let's go to fucking Pound Town.
Yeah.
Like they're all like one tequila sunrise away from like fuck it, let's go.
We gotta live a little, you know. Like
Yeah,
the gay life, I highly recommend.
yeah, it is a little expensive, especially here in the U.S. You know, with all the pride and all the rainbow capitalism, where everyone decides that they're going to be gay for a month, but then they have really really cute merch. Um,
Yeah, you know, we're just so expensive in general that we can't really tell the difference. When Pride rolls around, we're just like, oh, everything is just as expensive as always. What's the difference? There's
so like Target is a terrible company and they're a horrible corporation, but like during Pride, they're one of the few like reliable companies that have Pride merch that isn't just rainbow flags. Like they have pansexual, non-binary, agender, like gender non-binary, like they regularly have these other kinds of flags that aren't just rainbow. And like I hate Target, but like fuck, I have not seen like a bi flag in a store before like that.
mm-hmm.
Because we're not real. We're mythical creatures that aren't real. That
Yeah.
we're on our long trek. It's like Hercules and his labors. We're on our long trek to lesbianism, and we're just stuck around labor 4 or 5.
Yeah. This is
So like,
true. I mean,
so
they
like I
call
hate rainbow
bisexuals
capitalism.
unicorns for a reason.
This is true. Yeah,
Because
we're
they
just
don't exist.
we're not real. We're just on our long extended journey to finally just giving up and becoming lesbians.
Yeah, like you're not even really here right now.
No, I'm absolutely just a figment of everyone's imagination. Really, the longest con of all was my existence.
And I'm like, okay, so if you, the bisexual, don't exist, what am I? Like
I said, I have never slotted you as like anything that isn't just what Carola is. Like you're in like that weird like Suichi Shindo category
so I'm a
of
cryptid.
like
I'm just
yeah, you are absolutely just like a cryptid. Like
okay.
I do not know how to slot you outside of just like what if Suichi was real and not aggravating?
I'm I am taking this as a huge compliment, by the way.
It is. It's like
Yes.
what if Suichi was real and not aggravating?
And not a musician, I guess.
I mean, you do music with those words. I don't know. That was supposed to sound nice.
Yeah, but that's exactly what Shuichi doesn't do, because his lyrics.
See, so you're already doing. Yeah, he's a terrible lyricist.
I think my favorite. I mean, this has nothing to do with anything. It's just like one of my favorite moments in the Gravitation manga is when someone comes across Shuichi's lyrics when he's trying to write his own lyrics towards the end of the manga, and they're all just like, "Yuki, you're a dummy. I hate you," and it's like fish, something, and it's like, I love it. He's wonderful.
He's doing
The
his best.
literary talent is just astounding.
It is something. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to hallmark on the fact that during those times a lot of us were at an impressionable age, which leads us to we're gonna take the second and we're gonna put that away for a minute. We're gonna talk about, can porn make you gay? Yeah, sure.
Or alternatively,
Yeah.
it can make you realize that you like things that
Yeah.
you didn't know. And also, I think that, the concept of gay sex, I think this is so funny when people are like, you're having gay sex with someone. Like, you're having sex with someone. Like, the thing is, mind-boggling, perhaps, but you can have sex with someone because it feels good, even though you don't swing that way. And that doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make the sex gay. You're just having,
I mean, what is that blonde Playboy anthem of an ass is an ass, especially in the dark?
Yeah.
The final famous words of Yukieri, an ass is an ass, especially in the dark. Like I think it's reductive to say, can porn make you gay? Because I mean, I think pop culture can reveal things about, again, sans serif in the spirit. That was not a porno. Might as well have been. You got to see her full ass. But that was not made to make me buy. That was not.
No, that was the sole agenda when they made that film. It's like, we're gonna find baby Amanda and we're gonna make her gay.
It was to smoke out the bisexual.
Yes.
There it is.
Get them and then round them up so no one finds out that they exist.
I feel honestly though, I do feel like there are movies that are like that, where like this was
yeah.
made just to smoke out the bisexual in the room, and it's like, there they are. And like, not even freaking nefarious.
Right. Yeah.
Just, I feel like there's a lot of movies, like superhero movies and stuff like that are just like, we're here to smoke out the bisexuals.
I mean, okay, the number one film to smoke out the bisexuals, The Mummy.
Cruel Intentions.
Yes. But
Cruel
come
Intentions.
on. You can't.
I mean, The Mummy also.
The Mummy is just like, the older I get, the more I watch, I always watch The Mummy every so often. And the older I get, the more I'm like, you know what? There isn't a person
Everyone was hot in that
I would,
Yeah. And then Brendan Fraser, he was like hung for real in that movie.
Was he naked in that movie? What?
No,
what are you
like
talking about?
in the hanging scene.
Oh, the hanging scene. Okay.
Not his dick.
No. But this is a podcast about, in case anyone wants to know what's going on in my head, it's like,
Amanda evaporates from scene because for once in my life, I had a wholesome trivia fact about how Brendan Fraser was actually like injured on set during the hanging scene, and Carola corrupts it into asking about how his dick be swanging.
I'm sorry.
Which I'm sure it was. His dick carried that entire movie, but goddamn.
I'm sorry, Brendan Fraser. It doesn't.
No, you're not. You're not sorry. We should go see if he'll listen to this.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry to everyone listening. This is such a mess. But it's Easter, okay? It's like,
oh, are we drunk on Easter? Is that what's happening?
I don't even know. Like, I have had a lot of snacks.
I've had very little snacks. I need to get on your snack level.
Yeah,
but
get on my snack level. I mean, watch out for the sodium intake. It's just ridiculous.
But so I mean, it's reductive to say like, can porn make you gay? I think it can definitely. So I remember like one of the guys that I was a beard for. One of the first things that I did was I got him the Teen Vogue like hunky boy calendar, and like he was like, the amount of years that I hid that in my closet for like private viewing, and he's like, yeah, like you did this, like you enabled this, and I'm like, good, you're gay, you're out now, you're free, like
be free,
right? Like you're free, like you're out of the closet. But like, yeah, like I think it's reductive to say like, can porn make you gay? It's, can this sort of like reveal what you really are? Like, I don't think that watching Yaoi would have just like, apropos of nothing, sparked something. Like, I don't think it would have just been like, oh, I've been watching Yaoi for 10 years and suddenly I'm a gender deviant. Like, that had to already be somewhere in here. Like, so, I'm in the South, I'm in Texas, and right now we talk about like fire conditions, because that's a big thing that we're worried about, is like grass fires and forest fires. And so like, I got an email from my electric company saying, this is perfect fire weather, which, just take a minute to acknowledge how ridiculously Texan that sentence is. This is perfect fire weather.
That doesn't sound great.
Safe. And that anything can spark a fire, basically. Like the grass is dry, the wind is blowing, so like even like the electrical current that is just going from can cause a fire. So like if your power goes out, it's because like just a fire fucking started. And like I feel like it's kind of like that. Like there were already
Yeah.
perfect fire conditions in me. I did not like women, and I'm not saying that like all gay people hate women. That's not what I'm saying. But like I already had complicated woman feelings. I was already angsty as shit. And again, I'm not saying trauma makes you gay. Uh, I already had these like very like complicated feelings that I did not know had an out. And BL, with my own research and thought and meditation, helped me get through it. Because at first I thought I was trans. And then I started like looking into like top surgery and bottom surgery, and I was like, this doesn't feel
Mm.
right. This doesn't feel like it's authentic to me. And I was willing to just like give up there because, this is, the mid 2000s. If you're not trans, there's no other options. We barely acknowledge transgender, but if you're not that, then there is no other.
No, there wasn't anything else.
And I don't remember where I saw it. I think it actually might have been in a BL, but someone had mentioned that they were gender fluid. Actually, I'm lying. It was in Gravitation, and it was Yoshiki.
Yeah, the great representation that is Yoshiki.
Excellent representation. But I was like, gender fluid, what the fuck is that? And you do your little research. And it's like, oh, it's both.
Yeah,
I
and
both.
I think it's such a, I've had that experience where, I've gradually fallen deeper and deeper into, looking up these things and seeking out more fiction and more material that
Mm-hmm.
has characters like this and has identities like this, and then having it blow up in my face when someone confronts me and they're like, oh, what's going on with you, because you used to be this and now all of a sudden you're claiming to be this. And it's almost as if they're painting it as if you've just gotten too involved with this fiction, like you're just too into this stuff and now you're trying to change yourself, when what it is in reality is that you are exploring, you're learning that these options exist, and you're beginning to find images that you identify with and
Mm-hmm.
characters and traits that you identify with, and that it has nothing to do with me wanting to be more like that fictional character, but it's that that fictional character speaks to me on a deeper level and makes me start to realize who I am and how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
and and yeah, if people just, it's just one of those things where just because they haven't heard of it or they don't understand it and can't apply it to themselves, they think that you must be doing it for attention or
Mm-hmm.
you're just too far gone, and that's not it at all. And like with BL as well, and we talked about this before, but tapping back into the whole, one of the reasons why BL was predominantly created by women for women was because the box that contained femininity was so narrow and
Mm-hmm.
so constricting that they couldn't explore female sexuality in any other ways. And that's why the men in BL can be seen, you can see them as men, but you
Mm-hmm.
can also choose to see them as just completely other beings, because it is a way of exploring sexuality and feelings and relationships and projecting onto them in a way that you're at liberty to do so, because the restraints that
Mm-hmm.
apply to you in the real world don't
Mm-hmm.
apply within this fictional suspension.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to talk about fiction as this like safe playground
Yeah.
to explore these things. When we talk, it's at the end of every episode, we talk like pro ship, anti ship, where it's like, oh, if you really are sexualizing these teenagers, you're really sexualizing teens. It's like part of fiction is the idea that these things that would be either a little bit taboo, which I am not saying, or not digging up pro ship, anti ship points in direction of yield episode. Uh, but like I wouldn't have had these conversations if I wasn't basically allowed to play pretend in fiction.
Mm.
This is not a dialogue that I think I ever would have had organically with myself if it wasn't like, all three of my brain cells working overtime and being like, huh, you write real good as man.
Mm. And it's
Yes.
and it's like similar to, kids play.
Mm-hmm.
Kids explore things through
Mm-hmm.
playing, and
Mm-hmm.
they and sometimes, people get worried because like my kids are playing, violent games, or they're playing murder, because they've been watching this
Well,
crime show on
I'm
TV.
sorry. What? They're playing murder.
Yeah, okay, there was this huge panic in Norway last year because of kids playing Squid Games.
Oh,
And what
okay.
it really was that the kids, because okay, some people had actually been watching Squid Games with their
Mm-hmm.
children, and I'm like, at
Mm-hmm.
what point do you decide that you want to show your 6-year-old this show? Like, I have questions.
Valid.
But a lot of kids, because they pick up on things, right?
They
And
do.
all the kids had picked up in most of these situations that
Mm-hmm.
in this series there is a version of red light, green light
Mm-hmm.
where you, instead of just being out, you're dead. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were playing that, but it was essentially the kid who turned around when you moved, you're dead. And lots of parents had like a huge moral panic over this, despite
Mm-hmm.
the fact that, that is exactly what we do in video games as well. You're like, oh, Mario fell into a pit. He died. I died in this level. And then you
Mm-hmm.
come back because they are able to understand that it isn't real, and they are able to play with these concepts in a safe way and explore these concepts and come to understand these things through playing games. And that's
Mm-hmm.
similar what we do when we project onto fictional characters, or we explore using fictional mediums, whether we are creating or consuming them. It's
Mm-hmm.
similar. It's
No,
learning by,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And like again, when I was a kid, I had a stuffed velociraptor from Jurassic
Oh,
Park.
I love it.
I
I'm
was a
so
we- I was
jealous.
such a weird little kid. Like in hindsight, there is no reason why anyone should have been shocked that I ended up like this. There is like looking back, there is no reason why any of this should be a surprise. I called my aunt the other night because I'm going through some personal stuff. And I said, "Yeah, I haven't quite, gone into, prostitution yet." And she does that like reserved southern thing of like, "Oh, well, if that's your choice." And I'm like, that is the most auntie thing I've ever heard, of like desperately trying to like let me have a life, but also just like wanting so badly to be like, what the fuck? Sansa.
Sansa is here.
He's like, "I heard you bitches needed some serotonin."
Yes.
It's like, here I am. Heard you bitches needed a little bit of serotonin. So let's close on a high note. Is this fetishization?
No.
Fetishization. No.
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 I Just because I was able to glean some gender from BL does not mean that. So I don't remember where this is. It's in Scandinavia, but there's like a library of like stories, but it's all like different people, and you can like check out a story and like
Oh
they'll just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
spin a yarn for you. I haven't like checked out a gay. I haven't like put on a gay skin and I'm like walking around like as a play gay.
No.
We're not
Calm down,
wolves.
Buffalo Bill.
Right, we're not wolves. Like we're not
What have I
uh
told you about wolves?
that they're what? What
No,
about
didn't I? What was it? What was it I said? Never mind. Because there was that whole. There are two wolves inside of you.
Oh, yes.
So
I was like, what about them?
yeah.
I was like, what specifically
Step
about
away
wolves?
from the wolves. Okay.
No. No. They're neat. I was never a wolf girl though. I was never a horse girl either.
I was for a bit, but then I
I
got
can see that for
allergic.
you.
So.
I can see that for you. But like we're so at the last place I was working at, there was a joke because they were trying to be really really considerate about that I have a peanut allergy, that I have a nut allergy, and there was one girl there who like she would like eat peanut butter toast and like she'd like wave the jar of peanut butter in front of me, and it's like I'm not a vampire. Like that doesn't like
What?
like I'm not a vampire. Like
But
I'm fine.
do you see, this is why. How are we supposed to make the world at large understand gender and sexuality spectrums when they can't understand basic allergies? Like you,
But like, right, but like, and like, she thought it was hilarious. She'd do it all the time. She thought it was fucking hilarious. Other people in the office would do it. It's like, woo. It's like, we're not vampires. Like, people with nut allergies aren't vampires. Like, don't kiss me on the mouth. Like,
don't,
that's,
yeah, don't put it in my
yeah,
food,
like,
but like,
don't do like Rafiki, like, and rub it on me. Like, that's the only reason I say that, because I can get really, really sick if you guys like don't wash your hands. And, we have like public meeting rooms and stuff like that. You guys just, and then, go fondle a meeting room. I can get really sick. Like, it isn't to make you guys think that you can't do this. I mean, you're still doing it. It's just to make you guys aware. But like, I'm not a vampire. And like, the amount of times I said, like, I'm not a vampire. Like, it's this, just shaking a jar of peanut butter at me. It's like, okay.
what do you expect me to do? Like leave?
Like, combust? Like, and more importantly, if I did, what is wrong with you? Like,
are you trying to tell me something? Like, is this a?
right? Like, is Timmy
Are
in
you
the well?
bullying me?
Like, I think I was being bullied. In hindsight,
Yeah.
I think I was being bullied. That's a different conversation. Why am I looking at Viking River cruises? Carola, why am I looking at Viking River cruises?
I don't know, because you want to go and see that naked guy in the waterfall.
I kind of do, actually. No, I'm actually horrified by his tan line. But no, this isn't fetishization. And I think it's really, really dangerous to look at people who are going on a gender or sexual orientation journey, and maybe it is spurred by something like BL, or it's spurred by Yuri. We make a joke about this, like gay panic. Like, we make a joke about like gay panic and like pop culture and stuff like that. I think it's really, really cruel to minimize that kind of stuff, because it can be really scary when you have a moment where you realize, like, oh shit, like, my life is different now. Like, I am different now. So while it might seem really, really easy on the outside to be like, just admit that you want to fuck that person, that's not an easy step to take. Um, I was raised Catholic, and while individual parishioners are usually not, too mean about homosexuality, the church on a whole is still pretty mean about homosexuality. Me admitting that I was bi, me admitting that if I ever married a female partner, that we probably wouldn't be able to be married in the church, that some places wouldn't bury us, that legally I would have a time and a half making sure that my partner received my benefits.
Yeah.
That's all real. And it's reductive and cruel to look at these people who are going through something and say anything that is minimizing. So is it fetishization? No.
And just to piggyback on from that, like reversely, there are people who, whether it is about their sexuality or their gender, who go through this relatively seamlessly, who don't have like a big, they aren't scared, or they aren't unsure, and they, like, obviously, yeah, your life changes, because it's a huge thing that you realize about yourself. But even though, like for me, it wasn't like a huge, it was just like, oh, okay, clearly I'm not straight. And then, and then now I have a girlfriend, and I identify as pan, and I have no problems telling people, because it hasn't really been that hard for me. But that doesn't change the fact that I still, I still have to come out all the time, because people just assume that I will have a male partner. And for my girlfriend and me, like, we can't travel anywhere we want. We have to look and see, is this country safe for us to travel to? So even though you don't like on a day-to-day basis, maybe it isn't, scary or overwhelming or hard, but those challenges still exist in some situations, or they exist for some people, and all of those things are valid. And just because someone, maybe appears on the outside that, oh, like they are so fine with this that this can't be real, because if they were really going through this, they would be dysphoric or they would be depressed. No, because it's so different for everyone, and we all discover these things in different ways, and affirm ourselves in different ways, and all of those are okay, and it's not up to someone on the outside to judge that and decide how if it's acceptable and what way is a correct way to come out or to be gay or to be trans or non-binary. Like there are no rules for this, because we're all individuals, and there need to be room for all of that.
Absolutely. And I think that that's, important to say. And I think that that's important to validate. Also, and I know I don't need to say this, but gender and sexual orientation is a ever evolving thing.
Yeah.
My thing with pronouns is not the same as it was when I was in high school. It's not the same as I was when I was in college. And it probably won't be the same forever. Like, that's just how it is. And like, I think, and this is where I get personal, one, be patient with those going through it. And then two, also as that person, be patient with others. I know that like as a community, us in the LGBT, plus community, we can be a little prickly sometimes about that stuff, that, people are just supposed to look at us and know, and any answer that isn't correct is wrong. One of the only positive things that my previous job said was assume positive intent. Now, I'm not going to say assume positive intent, but just don't assume intent. Don't assume that this person is always trying actively to do harm. If we don't understand it, how are other people supposed to understand it? Like, I have looked at the gender wiki and looked at it and been like, I don't know what the fuck this is. I've looked at some of these flags, some of these genders, and I've been damn near ignorant. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is, and I don't like it. I don't like these kids and their xeno pronouns, baby. But like, if we don't get it, like, I always frame it as, can I expect my aunt to understand this? And my aunt isn't a dumb person. She raised me. My aunt is not a dumb person. She's just older. She understands what homosexual is. She knows several homosexuals, but they're all like Jack from Will and Grace. She knows several homosexuals.
All of them Jack from Will and Grace. Okay.
And the pejorative term for what my aunts are fruit flies, that they tend to attract a very gay man, and they have several like accessories. Your Southern upper middle class. But like, my pronouns and my gender stuff, I don't always get it. I can't expect my aunts to always get it either. So the least I can do is, if they're struggling, to lovingly try to correct them.
Yeah,
and move on.
And it's like, being ignorant isn't necessarily the same as being willfully ignorant, because sometimes you just don't understand. And like, I don't expect, I mean, I can flip it upside down. I'm not straight, so I don't know what it's like to be attracted to only one gender. But that doesn't mean that I don't accept that that is a thing, Like, as long as you are willing to understand that, hey, some people are like this, and some people feel like this, or, want to explore. And that's another thing. Like, there is so much room to explore. It's not wrong if you try a label on because you think that it might be you, or maybe you feel like that's you for a while, and then it turns out, maybe I wasn't right. Maybe I'm something else. Maybe I define in another way. Like, that is okay too. Like, it's hard, That was how we started this episode, with gender and sex and sexualities. Huge, complicated, weird stuff. Like,
Absolutely.
takes a while to figure this stuff out. And for some people it's super simple, and for some people it's like you gotta try on a few robes before you find the one that fits. And that's that's perfectly fair. And if you choose to explore that using, for instance, fiction, then that is absolutely valid.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So I've had an excellent time talking about the Fujin to queer pipeline. It's definitely not always a very straight pipeline, but some of the best pipes aren't always straight.
Definitely.
I don't know where I was going with that. I'm tired.
I'm still in Super Mario World, so I'm like, it's like a warp zone, and sometimes
Yeah,
you're like, where the
like
fuck am I?
some of the best pipes aren't straight. Thank you again to DL Site Garamani for
Yes, thank
sponsoring
you.
this episode. You will see all of our vanity stuff in Yield show notes. This episode will probably go live today, depending on how I'm feeling. If the existential dread does not get too loud. Um,
It's Easter Sunday. You're allowed to be a little bit,
Thank you. I
you
appreciate it.
know.
This is where we thank our patrons,
Thank you so
Carm and
much.
Jay and Lauren and Jamie. And I am missing one because I pulled this from an older document. Screams to open up Patreon immediately.
Hurry, hurry!
I'm trying. The internet is loading. And Weasley, our newest
Yay!
patron that we appreciate
Welcome.
so much.
We appreciate you guys so much. We're putting your funds that you are so graciously giving us to really good use. We're buying some
Absolutely.
exciting things.
We do have some very exciting things. We also have FujoCon that is up on the
Yes!
horizon. We got our guest announcement that honestly like made me tear up a little bit. I'm
Oh. I
excited to
didn't
be
even
on the
know
guest
we were on
list.
the site. I was like, I don't know
Yeah,
why,
we're on
because
the
we
site.
sent the info and I was like, wait, we're on the site. This is so
I know.
cool.
I
I'm
know.
so
I feel
excited. I freaking love FujoCon. It's gonna be
we both love FujoCon. I'm stoked. We have a lot of stuff coming up this year. I know I say that all the time, but like literally, we have a lot of stuff coming up this
there's
year.
so much stuff happening.
And speaking of what's coming up, for what will be our May episode, right before Pride Month, Carola, what are we talking about?
We're gonna talk about queer baiting.
We are. We're finally going to talk
I
about
say
what.
that so excitedly, and it's
I mean, it's going to be a lot. But,
yeah.
we're finally going to talk about queer baiting, what is and what isn't queer baiting. Spoiler alert, some feelings are probably going to get hurt.
Yeah, some of you are gonna hear some truths that
Some of y'all are going to hear some truths that you probably don't want to hear, but probably needed to hear a while ago. Uh, we're going to talk about queer baiting. We're going to talk about what is and isn't queer baiting. And we're also going to talk about when to use queer baiting as a valid criticism and term. And again, when not to, and at whomst not to.
you're so ready for this. You're just like, yes.
Just,
We've had this one on our list for a while, and I
this
think it's
has
so
been,
funny.
this has been in the pocket for a while. And I
Yeah.
think just like, I don't know what noise my throat just made.
I think it's so funny how we were talking about what to do next month, and then we both went separately into our little idea document, and then you were like, how about
How about
queer baiting? And I'm like,
baiting?
I was literally about to ask you.
Well, and I think it like follows a nice like trajectory. Like you
Yeah,
guys
I
might think
agree.
these episodes are selected randomly and minutes before the recording, and sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are, but that's besides the point.
It's like you guys might think that we select these episodes minutes before we hit the record button and hastily fill them into the outline, and sometimes you would be correct. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about it as my light decides to adjust and figure out what race
Yeah,
I
what
am.
the hell is happening over there?
I
Like
don't
you're just
know.
like
my
your light is going through its own little
my
transition
light is
period.
a again, thank you to DL Site Garamani for sponsoring us. I am thrilled and I am excited
so
to see you guys shortly for the live and also by the end of the month, our patron exclusive episode. You may join our patrons at patreon.com/theyaoishelf where you get some really, really cool exclusive episodes that no one else sees, as well as the satisfaction and joy of knowing that we spend your money on very tasteful things like Japanese
Just like,
porn
oh,
that
just
we
you wait.
spend we spend your money on so many tasteful things.
Yes. Some of
Uh,
them talking straight to my heart.
so okay, I'm not gonna spoil what we've purchased, but
I haven't even I have to buy mine. I haven't placed the order yet. I will. I will. Yes, I know I will.
I place especially because it takes 1,000 years to get anything to you.
Yeah. But even if I had ordered before Easter, nothing would have happened because everything is closed there for a week. So it's like
Okay, well, I
time
tried.
has frozen.
Okay, well, I tried. Happy Easter, everyone. If I do manage to get this up today, I'm going to try really hard. But if not, I mean, it's still Easter. Uh, be safe out there.
Remember
We
to follow
appreciate
us
you.
on our new Instagram and on
Oh,
Twitter.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Uh,
We are
and
at
follow us
the
on
Yaoi
Twitter
Shelf everywhere.
everywhere. Hmm.
We also
And
have a Discord.
we do have a Discord that you can find probably by searching the Yaoi Shelf. Uh,
I don't know. You you tell me. There's
I
a
did not.
link to it somewhere.
We will put, you know what? If you go to our Twitter, twitter.com/the Yaoi Shelf, and you go to our profile, there is a thing called a card. And in that card is literally every link that you need. Because
Yep.
I worked very hard to put every link there. Because
Very hard.
sometimes because we actually had a person who was like, I would like to join your Patreon, and I don't know where the fuck it is. And I had to go scramble for a Patreon link because I'm a whore and I like money.
Well, I mean, money is good. Money buys BL.
Money does
Except
buy BL.
one BL is donated to us for review purposes.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can use our special coupon code, the Yaoi Shelf, at checkout when you register at DL Site Garamani.
Absolutely
I am
recommend
a
doing
sales
that.
professional.
You are. I absolutely recommend, join DL site, get
Hmm.
something from there. Like they have so
Hmm.
many good products. And this is like, I think this is like the best thing because, normally people just skip over the ad things, but this is so relevant to everyone's interests. Like,
That's why I don't record it as a separate segment. I put it in the main episode so they can't skip it.
oh my God. No, but seriously, we
That's why
love.
I make it unskippable. Also, just a heads up, we're approaching our anniversary in a little bit as a show because, the show's been around for a couple of years now. And that being said, we have some pretty cool milestones approaching. One of those milestones is that sooner rather than later, we're going to approach 10,000 plays, which let us know how you'd like us to celebrate that achievement. Because, I mean, come on, guys. We're going to celebrate 10,000 plays really, really hard. It's a lot of people,
That
isn't
is
it?
a lot. Who the hell is listening to us? Like, thank you for sticking out with us. And
You did not just say who is listening to us.
if you made it this far, thank you. No, I think we're
Absolutely.
actually really good at this.
I think we're also really good at this. You are very correct. All right, guys. We will see you in the next one.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.